We are at the halfway point of the San Antonio Spurs season, so it's time to look back about what went right and what went wrong. But first, there was a roster move that we're going to dive right into right now. Welcome to the Spurs Roundtable, powered by Project Spurs. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, and joining alongside of me is Aaron Preine. And Aaron, I know you've been weeping all day, all night. The Austin Daye era in San Antonio is over. Are you okay? You okay, my friend?
It's a dark day.
I know. But if you haven't heard the news, Austin Daye is no longer a San Antonio Spur. He has been waived by the Spurs, and in comes fan favorite JaMychal Green to a 10-day contract out of the Austin Spurs. Right off the bat, what was your initial reaction?
It's not surprising. The Spurs typically like to have that 15th roster spot kind of open going in through January and February, just because you never know who's going to come off, who's going to be waived from other teams. That's how the Spurs ended up with Boris Diaw initially, and they really needed some help in the front court. And JaMychal Green, he's not the biggest guy, 6'9", but he's a good rebounder. He's a busybody. He's athletic. He can get out in open court, and as much as Austin Daye can shoot sometimes, he wasn't contributing in other areas.
Right. He never really got much time on the floor, but when he did, he made the most of it. I think his best game was
I felt like they were showcasing him lately because he was getting those starts. I mean, they needed it because of injury issues and rest, but I feel like they were showcasing him.
Right. Now, Austin Daye, good luck to him,
Yep.
But enter JaMychal Green. Now, JaMychal Green, you know what that phrase, like when I look at him, that phrase pops into my mind. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. This guy is fearless. He has no problems going at the rim. He will take a beating down the rim, and he has a nice soft jumper. You were saying before we started recording, he made some waves, positive waves, in the D-League.
Yeah, he was the player of the month in December, and he's averaging a double-double with the Austin Spurs. So, and he was with the Spurs in the the Vegas Summer League. He was one of the last cuts in the training camp roster. A lot of fans were thinking, a lot of media people were thinking, he might be kind of like an upset and take someone else's spot. But it's not surprising at all that he's now got a 10-day contract.
He has inside game. He has an outside game. He has a nice soft jumper. He has a nice back-to-the-basket moves, post moves. But
I think what the bigger thing for him that's attractive is that he can rebound.
Yes. For a guy his size, he definitely is one of the better rebounders in the D-League. Now, it was to a 10-day contract, so his time to shine is now, basically. If he wants to make the roster, he's got to do it now. But he recently had a 31-point game in the D-League versus Reno. Now, I get it. It's D-League competition, but still, the guy has the skill set that the Spurs need that they didn't have in Austin Daye.
Yeah, they're not asking him to start, but he's going to have to make the most of it in the very few minutes that he gets. I mean, he's got a 10-day contract. They're mainly looking to see what he can do in the training facility and in practices. He may just get a few spot minutes here and there, but it's going to be a very, very tough assignment for him to stay on past the 10-day contract.
One thing that you speculated about is that perhaps this is not just a move for JaMychal Green. Now, what I'm about to say, Aaron said this. Okay, not me.
Put it on me.
Ray Allen. You possibly think this could be a move to free up a space for Ray Allen.
Ray Allen or any other veteran player out there who can help the Spurs. Remember, this is most likely, we've been saying it for a decade now, it seems like.
Right.
This is most likely the last shot for Tim and Manu. And so are the Spurs going to roll the dice a little bit more on bringing somebody in? I don't know about a trade.
Do they really need another shooter on this squad?
That's the thing.
They got Mills, they got Green.
They're very heavy in the guard rotation, but are you really going to pass up on Ray Allen? So, I don't know. On one side, it doesn't fit, but on the other side, how do you pass that up?
He does fit the mold of the Spurs guy.
As far as
veteran, he knows what he's been there. He has battle-tested. He's won titles. He would seamlessly fit in.
He's a hired gun right now.
Right.
He wanted to wait out to see what title contenders would need someone.
But that's the thing. Do the Spurs need him?
Do a lot of other teams need him? But the thing is, a lot of other teams do need him, but would he fit with them? Would he fit into their offense? Also, remember, he's not a great defender. That's also another problem with San Antonio there as far as meshing.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, Austin Daye era is over. I know Spurs fans, dry your tears. But we'll see what JaMychal Green brings to us if he does get some time on the court. But as we mentioned before, it is the halfway point of the NBA season. And for the Spurs, that means a 25-16 record. You predict a 25-16 record at this point?
A 25-16 record and 7th in the West. Nobody predicted what the Western Conference was going to look like at all right now with the Golden State Warriors absolutely just running away with it. 17-1 record at home, with that one loss being against San Antonio.
Woohoo,
by the
that's
way.
right, San Antonio again.
You know, you said the right phrase. It's all going to shake out right after the All-Star break, and you got a lot of road trips and tough situations for a lot of teams that they still have to go through. You never know how an awkward injury may bounce the odds in one way. So I think the Spurs now with Kawhi coming back and finally kind of getting that health together, they'll be all right.
So what? We all know what went wrong.
Right.
Basically, the injury bug just decimated the team.
Multiple things.
Yeah, well, that mainly was the injury bug to Kawhi, to Parker, to Bellinelli, to Splitter. You know, that really hit hard this team. But what went right? Is there a silver lining in any of this?
Well, they got over the complacency issue in November. That was the big topic before the tough schedule of December and all the injuries they were dealing with. And it was that championship hangover that a lot of people were saying.
I think Pop even called the team out, saying that they feel entitled when they're on the court.
He was calling Tim out. He was calling everybody out. I mean, you can only count on one hand a number of players who were actually giving it their all, and one of them was Corey Joseph. But the complacency issue was the story in November. Injuries and schedule was the issue in December. Now, when is Kawhi going to come back? That was the story in January. So now what is the story going forward?
Well, I'll tell you what the story is going forward, for me at least, is keeping an eye on Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
He has been playing heavy minutes. He's been playing 30-plus minutes per game at the start of this season. Add the fact that he has an advanced age for NBA standards, a lot of miles on those legs. This is something that Spurs fans are going to have to look forward into the second half of the season. And I would not be surprised if we see TD sit out 2-3 games.
Oh, not at all. We saw that last season.
Yeah, as they prepare for the postseason push.
You're going to see it with Manu. You're going to see it with Tim. You're going to see it with Tony.
But isn't that dangerous in this stacked West? A loss here or a loss there could mean 7th, 8th seed, or not even into the postseason.
But if you get into the playoffs and you don't have any guns to help you, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So you're gambling here. You're going to have enough wins to make it into the playoffs, but you have to be healthy enough at the same time.
Obviously, health is going to be a big issue in the second half. This team needs to get over the injury bug. You know, if they have a can of Raid or a ice water, they need to smack that bug right now, because the last thing this team needs is another injury hit to one of the big three or even Kawhi Leonard. But chemistry. I know this Spurs team is about chemistry. I get it. They brought the whole roster plus Kyle Anderson. But they really haven't had time on the court together as a team since day one of the season.
No, and they've had the benefit of having that whole entire championship roster coming back, so they have a little bit of bleed over from the previous season. So, but you still need to be on the court in order to keep it going.
Right.
So you have a great mixture of veterans, a great mixture of guys who've been on the team for a while. They have that championship pedigree. They'll be fine as long as they stay healthy. Like you said, that's the key.
So when you're looking back at the first half of the NBA season, what would be your grade? Professor Preine, what do you give the Spurs' first half of the season?
I give it a B.
Really?
Yeah, well, as bad as and frustrating as November was, and all the way up actually until that Lakers game in December, what they've been able to do since then with the litany of injuries that they've had in rest games and a really tough schedule, I would say that they're playing with the right motivation and right energy. But now they also have that. They no longer have the complacency issue.
As for me, I would give them a C-. I think I'm a little tougher than Aaron here, but
you would be the professor that everybody hates.
Yes, I would. Everybody be getting Fs in my course, but I think I give them credit for the health issue. They can't help it.
Right.
The players are injured, but when your own head coach comes out and calls you out and says you guys feel entitled, that tells me more to the psyche of this team, that this team wasn't coming in with that ferocity, that killer instinct, hey, we are the defending champions, and we're going to defend it. We're going to do it for the first time this season. Yeah. I knock them for that. With a team laden with this much veteran presence, this should not be an issue.
I think the reason why I give it a little bit higher is because that Friday night game against Portland, which marks the halfway point of the season, Kawhi being back is obviously a big thing, but they were going up against the second-best team in the West, Portland, who was on pace to match their franchise record in season wins.
And the score didn't indicate just how much of they blew them out.
They were dominant on both ends of the floor. The energy was there. They were hustling to the boards. The defense was not lacking. They didn't have to rely on zone whatsoever. It was a complete game, and really their first full, complete game of the season, that to me is a very positive indicator with half the season yet to go.
You would be the teacher that everybody wants to sign up for, so I would not be the guy. But there was our thoughts on the first half of the Spurs season. Of course, leave your thoughts over at News 4 San Antonio, of course, at Fox 29 San Antonio, and as always, go to ProjectSpurs.com, and let's see how the JaMychal Green era begins. Hopefully, it's a good one.
Yep.
But we got to go because Aaron's going to go to the eulogy now for the Austin Daye era. So I know, Aaron. I know. We got to go. But for Aaron Preine, I'm Jeff Garcia. Thanks again for watching this episode of the Spurs Roundtable.